Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Friday, May 8th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Today we're going to talk a bit about building virtual tabletop adventures. It is taking either regular adventures or just elements and building out an adventure for a virtual tabletop. In this case, we're using Roll20 because that's what I use. And honestly, let me tell you right out the gate, what I'm going to be doing is rather rudimentary. I'm by no means an expert using this. I'm feeling my way as I go along. You can follow along and maybe pick up a thing or two, or maybe you'll be here in the stream chat and give me some pointers as we go. It's all good, and we will see how it goes. Let's see, what do we want to move to next? Oh, I know what we want to do. We want to bring up the Roll20 tabletop. Now, what I've done here is I've taken what was a previous campaign I was running. So it does have some elements, some pages already created here. And I've begun to set up a page. Now I find that, well, there's a lot you can get done on one of these pages. You can fit a lot on here. Move it down to 10%. You see how many squares we're talking here. It's 25 by 25 squares. So it's fairly good size. But if I'm going to put something bigger on that, I'm going to need more room. And it would help me anyway to be able to see what's going on, but at the same time have enough room so that I can shift around. And the way to do that is to go up to the gear that's attached to the new page. And if you create a new page, easy enough to do just by clicking on Create New Page. You can name it right away, or you can do as you like with it. But if we add in, I'm just going to make it twice as big. I find that's fairly useful. We'll find out if that's enough. Doubling the size. Notice the background. 5-foot square grid. That is in relation to tokens and other things that they have in here. So it's important to know why they're calling it that page scale. There are other elements like dynamic lighting and stuff that I'm sure play off what size the grid is supposedly. So I don't touch that, but I will bigify the. So if we go back to 10% again, let's see, this is now twice the size that it was before. I generally keep it at about 60 or 70% for my viewing. That makes it fairly easy. We'll move everything off so we get the nice upper left corner. I'm just going to bring in a map that I'm going to work with today. This is a tower map by Dyson Logos, who I always sing the praises of. He's a great guy. He does great work. Do yourself a favor and keep an eye on what Dyson Logos is doing on the dodecahedron, on Dyson's dodecahedron, his website. He's got lots of maps you can just go grab and stuff if you want to use them for commercial purposes. Only certain ones are available. So see now that gear. We brought this in. It is a single element at this point. I'm going to bring it down to here. We are simply going to call this the original full map layer. This will be something we can reference because I want to break up these different levels. I want to pull them out of this map and I'll do that in Paint on another, something I should point out. Here's that map opened up in Paint, which is as simple as anything to work with, right? So we'll just use that. We're not doing anything fancy with it. We don't need to use Photoshop, which I often use, but just for the sake of it. Now, when I downloaded this map off of Dyson's website, it is so big as a PNG file that I couldn't even open it in Paint. I had to use my Irfan View program, which is a free program you can download. It's good for quick manipulation of miniatures or images, and I often use it to change sizes, to crop, to adjust the number of pixels per square inch, resolution. I don't use it to touch up photos or anything like that. It's really just a quick, simple program for that sort of thing. Now, in this, we will save. Right now I have this as Ash Inspire Roll 20. We're going to save this as in the same folder as, we're going to save it as first level. You know what? Let's do this. This will keep them all in an order. Right? Level 01. Alright, we're going to save it as level 01. We're going to save it again as level 02. We're going to save it as level 03. I'm going to save it as level 4. Now, we're not going to use the Asher Inspire name. We could. We may change it. In fact, I'm definitely going to change it because Dyson does write some of his own material for the various maps he puts out, and I don't want anybody to, having seen that, confuse this with that and think that it's connected in some way, draw from that. I also want to save it as side view. I'm going to put an extra underscore because I want it to show up ahead of, because it's alphabetically lower than level. I want it to come in ahead on the in the order in the folder, so we'll just do that. And then now we've got what we want. So we've got the side view. This is the side view map. We're going to remove that there because we don't want that in roll 20. I'm going to work this in though. I want to keep this element with all the maps. This is the side view file, so we can get rid of all of these pieces. And let's tighten everything up. Move that up there. We're going to bring this over here. We're going to resize this. Now, pixels wise, it's pretty strong already, so we don't have to change anything there. Let's just make it, again, as big. Just so we have the image there. We're going to take his logo. We're going to move it up over here. Actually, you know what? See this little crook? I just like the way that is over there. So we're gonna squeeze it in right there. kind of a big banner, little banner, right? Then we're going to get rid of the name he's using. This will be simple enough. I want to keep all these little lines, so I'm going to work around those. There we go. And then we can add in our own. I'm a big fan of windlass. Right now we have it on stencil because this is what I use on the slides for the OK Grognard show. So what do we want to call it? It's an abandoned tower, but it has more of a name than that. Let's call it, well, you know what? Lost Nomads in the chat. Let's put his name to it somehow. Tower of the Lost Nomads. Let's do that. Let's change this size. I think we're at 72 now. I think we can squeeze as big as 85 or a little bigger. Yep, we can go bigger than that. Will 100 be okay? Will that still fit on there? That might be a little too big, but let's see. Let's edge this out a little more. It looks like that'll fit at 100, so we'll keep it at 100. Something else we can do is stretch it in other ways. So let's look at this. We got the little lines. If we opaque it, we get rid of those lines. So let's keep it on transparent. Let's move it up. And then kind of center it. That's nice. We'll do this. Now remember, we're keeping this side view in part because we want to be able to use this with the players. Now we move back to the select tool. You know, stretching these out, give it a weird little extra vibe, doesn't it? Makes it a little more ominous. Let's make sure we get everything in there. Just a little more. There we go. Okay, so now that we're calling it, that font's called Windlass, by the way. I'll type that in. It's available in a number of places. I picked this up, I don't know, 20 years ago when I started doing Creative Mountain Games stuff. And yeah, the 20 years, this coming December will be the anniversary of Creative Mountain Games. My little e-publishing company that I woefully underutilized, but it's always there for me to put stuff together when I feel like it. Anyway, David Nall, who had a website, he may still have it, where he was converting, what's his name, public domain images into digital files, and he was also creating some fonts, and this was late 90s, and one of the fonts he had was this Windlass font, which I think was based off of what was used on some Howard Pyle artwork. Howard Pyle, one of the Brandywine School artists who famously did a lot of Robin Hood and pirate stuff. And in the early 1900s, late 1800s, I guess, really. Famously, things like, what's it called? Black Shield? Black Arrow? Gosh, I'm losing track here. But if you look up Howard Pyle, P-Y-L-E, on Wikipedia, you'll see that he had a hand in creating a whole bunch of stuff. Both story and art. Now I want this to tip up a little bit. I want this a little higher. But if I attempt to grab this entire tower and move it up, I'm going to run into some problems with the banners there. I can get it up a ways. Let's move it up just a little bit. There we go. I want to center it a little more too now that we've fixed the space. That's good. Okay. We don't want to crowd it anyway. We'll bring this up. We've got about that same amount of space all around. We'll rotate this 180. Give it a little more on the top. And a little bit on the side over here. There we go. Alright, so we've got an image here of what the players will see. And we can let them see this as Tower of the Lost Nomads. That may give them a clue as to what's going on. Remember, this is the side view, so we'll just save it as such. And close that for a second. We come back over to here. This, by the way, should be on the map layer, so I'm going to move that back to the map layer. That way it doesn't get shifted around when we're in other modes. Let's create a new page, move it over here. We're going to call it side view. We're going to bring it in. Now this one, thankfully, is of a size, but it's square. And we're going to remove the grid on this one. Let's make it a little bigger. Oh, not widthwise. Let's make it again there. Okay, so nice and tall. Let's also disable the grid because we won't need it for a picture. We'll do this. Go back to Mac layer. We'll go over to our map folder, which is on the other screen, but you don't need to see that anyway. Just bring that in and upload the side layer. That's something I just did there. It's probably not a good plan. I dragged it over and I let go of it while my cursor... Oh, you just found Windless as a free download? Oh, great. Okay. My cursor was up toward the top of the field of play, if you will. If I put it at the middle, that image will be dropped in at the middle. It'll be evenly moved around. So you won't have it sticking up off the top. Well, that may not be super important because you can just grab it and slide it around later. If you're copying and pasting groups of tokens, this is something I discovered when I was running a game on Tuesday. Copying and pasting groups of tokens from one page to another, so that you can, say, move your players around or let them have control of their characters in another, from one screen to another. Then you want to make sure you drop them in the center or close to it, because if you have a group of them and you, let's say, put your cursor way up here toward one corner, then what you'll wind up with, let's say you bring six tokens across, and 3 of them are below your cursor and 3 are above. The ones that are sticking off the screen, you won't be able to get to. They'll essentially disappear into a void. At least that's been what I've noticed. That doesn't mean I'm necessarily doing it right, but I wasn't able to find them after they were over there, so that was kind of a bummer. Let's see. There we go. Still waiting for this to upload. It's taken a little longer than I expected it to. That's okay. we're going to have to leave it as is for now. You know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. Jump into another. I'll show you something else. We'll go over into the game I was running the other day, Liberation of Laidlaw, and I'll show you. And there's a couple of players in there. Hopefully they won't jump in while we're here. We'll pull up the thing and I'll show you. You know, so my players have a great deal of fun making extra work for me by drawing pictures whenever they're bored, like at the end of an event when we're doing things. So see these characters? Let's say I copy the group of them to then bring them over to another screen, and let's just bring them over here. So this was combat. Now I've already got them here, but let's bring that down a little bit so we can see the full thing. Well, let's see what happens. Now if I paste them way up here, notice we only see two of them, and then I can move those two and bring them around. I'm just going to delete them real quick. This is where we got the other ones out. But I don't know what might have happened to those. Now, could I undo all of that? There's another undo. You can keep going back. How many undos can you do? Not that many. You can't undo a paste apparently. So maybe I can only go so far back. Something to know, something to learn. Let's go back here. Still having trouble. You know what? Let's try that again, because maybe the way I did it wasn't going to work. The image itself is pretty large. You know what? It doesn't need to be that big. Maybe that's part of the problem of importing it. So, yeah, see how huge it is? I was working with it this size. Notice when I did the text, I had to bring it up to 100 to make it. What happens when a teleport spell goes bad? Yeah, right? Hey, howdy, Red Flag, 1964. Thanks for popping in. Good one, Nomad. It's true. It's end up in a wall, right, when you teleport badly. So this doesn't need to be that big. I'm going to drop it down to 35% of that size. Let's see if it's actually this big. You know what? Let's try that again. Let's resize it at 50%. That'll work. All right, save it as such. We'll just smallify that for now in case we have to do it again. Yep, smallify is a word. It's a perfectly cromulent word. And I'm going to put it in the middle. Let's see if it doesn't want to come in, huh? Nope, there it is. All right. Interesting. It's keeping its size. Okay. All right. We'll just edge it down a little bit, even it out. Doesn't need to be any particular way. We've got it on the map layer. We're going to switch to objects so we don't move it around accidentally. So this is just something that you can move the player banner over to give them a view without actually moving their characters onto it, and just give them that thing. Now what you may want to do is in advance, we'll run in the game, go over to this layer yourself and adjust the size of it so that when you move them onto it, they are getting the full picture. And And maybe we want to center this. Let's do this. Because it's all about presentation, right? And this is about creating this for presentation. So let's change the size and make it super wide, right? For the time being, it doesn't actually need to be that tall. We'll make it a little shorter. Do this. Very large notice it may load slowly or not at all. Do you wish to continue? Yeah, I do. For now I do, because I just want to see. 200 is way too big. 45 is too small. So we'll change that again. This time we'll just go to 100. We're going to put it back at 45 because we know that worked before. Still a large size. So if we look at this, it doesn't quite fill the whole thing. We can make it less wide. What's the next size up? 30? There we go, 30. How's 30 do for? So 30 is a pretty good size, north to south. And we can change the height slightly. And then if we change that to 80, I know this seems rather picky, but I think you'll appreciate what I'm trying to do when I'm done doing it. So if we've got this full screen, and we center it like that, and we go to the map layer, and we center this on the map more or less. We're going to put it a little higher, that way whatever bars are down bottom won't get in the way. We're on the map layer now. We'll go back to the object layer, hit cemented in place. We will go back here, we'll go to 20, if we can see it. And then if we have, I've got this set at bars only, names only, so that's cool. We don't need that in the way. This being the case now, so this is now basically a slide. We can bring our characters in. This is what they see when they're approaching from this direction, and they get to see that. Now we add in another page. We're going to call this Tower Level 1. We're also going to go over here. We're going to name this full map GM DM reference. Let's change that even further. Let's go DM reference map. It should all fit on there. There we go. So if I ever need to go in and just see this, let's see. Okay. Map background. We have this on the map background. Oh yeah. Let's go to 60. Bring it up. Do these correspond? They don't. Okay. So here's something we want to do. So we've got these. We've got that grid to work with. If we go here and we change this color to something darker, it's going to be easier to line up. You can always change it back later. This, So we're going to play with this a little bit. We're just trying to stretch it such that one square is actually one square. And that's about right. Now, if we hold down the Alt key, we can stop part way, right? And it won't snap to grid. We're going to have to look at this one up here to make it work while we stretch it the other way. Okay. Now in this case, of course, the grid isn't going to match from tower to tower to tower. So we're running into that. We're going to move it just a little bit to deal with that. Keep the Alt key pressed. And what I'm looking at, what I'm eyeballing here, is this intersection right here. You can eyeball any which one you want. And that's the one I'm using for reference. We can go a little further, stretch it a little bigger. So that's about right on a square. Does it match up with another one down here? It does not. Let's make it a little bigger. That's starting to match up a little bit. This would be easier to do with single layers. This may be as close as we need to get for what we're doing here. Let's stretch it more this way. That actually fits pretty well now there. It's a little off there. So again, we're going to widen it a bit. And, you know, it might be easiest to over adjust and then dial it back in. But see, look at where we're at right now. That's pretty good, right? From this one to this one to this one, they're all right about there. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit. Still fits everywhere else. That's good. So, that's on the map layer. We will move to objects so that we don't accidentally move it. It is what it is, and it works pretty well. We're going to switch over to this layer then. And once again, do we know if this is big enough? Maybe. We know that to fit a tower layer or a tower level, we know that this is plenty big. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12. So about 12 by 9 is plenty big, and these are 25 by 25 in their original form. So this is going to be plenty big. We want to bring up level 1. Oh, let's just do this. Close that down. We don't need that anymore. And then we'll bring up level 1. There we go. In paint. Alright. So, obviously, this is a level 1 map. So this is all we're going to need. We want to keep that though. I just like having that little logo laying around in all the different levels for the sake of giving credit where credit's due. We'll throw it down over by where it tells us what floor it is. So we don't need any of this stuff, right? We'll just do that. Get rid of it all that way. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. Rotate. Bring it up like that. Move it over. Rotate. Go back to this view. Okay. So this is what we're going to fit in there. Should be easy enough. We do that. Now we had already decided we were going to make the other things smaller, but we don't need to do that with this really, because I think Oops. Yeah, that's okay. Nah, it's not. Let's get rid of. Yeah, okay. We don't want to chop any of it off. Probably small enough, but looking at the pixel size, pretty large. We brought the other one down to 50. Let's bring this one down to 50 also. I'll save it as such. Remember, it's level 1 only, so we're all good there. We'll close that down. We've got a level 1 map. We'll bring this baby in. Do it in the center. I'm used to, like in design, where you'll edge something into a corner of where you want it to start, and then it'll fill out the rest thing. But always better to just drop it in the center on this. Now, you're going to forgive me for a second. I just heard somebody down at the door. I'm going to have to check on what's going on there. So, if you don't mind, I'm going to take 5, and I'll be back just in a couple of minutes. Okay, I'm back. Tell me something. Do I like this? Experiencing technical difficulty. I made this slide just for fun. It's I like the irony that someone has both fallen on their ass and fallen off of their ass. It was a public domain image that I found, and I like it because it's a pun. So there you go. Anywho, we'll get on back into the working on this. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is easy because it's square. So this might be the easiest place to work on this. Notice if I move off objects. So I've got to move this back to the map layer and work on the map layer because that's really where I want to be. Let's edge it on up here. It's going to be bigger. Kind of like throwing stuff in the corner more or less. It's never going to need to be closer than 1 square away from the corner. If I hold down the Alt key, avoid it snapping the grid. If you grab on the corner too, it keeps it relative size. Now I'm making that way too big. We move up. We can see that really doesn't need to be much bigger than this. So let's look at these squares, because those ones are kind of free floating, right? If we check that out there, oh, I know what we want to do. We want to change the color because it's just too hard to see. And maybe we change it back when we're done, and I may want to change it back on that other layer. But let's get that out of the way. If we look at we're looking at this intersection right here. You see where I'm waving the cursor around in this upper left, this intersection? We look at that, and we've got that lined up right under an intersection. We can see over here it's just not working, right? So we've got to, at the very least, move this over. Once we do, that changes the size of this, so we have to edge it back over. It's almost there. A little bit further. Square that back up, eyeball it. Still a little further. Let's just go this far. And when we edge it back, you know, it's almost easier to go too far and then dial it back in. Alright, once again, we'll look at this lower one. This time we'll take our own advice. We'll go too far. Edge it back up on the crosshairs. Alright, this is looking pretty good this way. It's looking pretty good this way. How's it look down here? Pretty close. You know what? We're close enough that it works. We can actually edge it back in just a little bit. Okay, I like it. We're where we want to be. We don't have a way to lock, but by moving off of the map layer, we're not going to accidentally move that anymore. So now we see how big that is. And in fact, you know what? It's the first layer. There may be some stuff going on around the outside. So I think we're actually going to Alt, move it toward the middle of the screen. Okay, that's about right. I'm going to zoom on in. Once we zoom on in, we can edge it around a little bit. Alright, there we go. Off the map layer. Alright. So assuming these are all 5-foot squares, this is the first layer. That's that doorway in. Now here's a problem. When we look at the side view, we see the door in front of us. Is this what they're expecting? From this perspective, we kind of want to roll this layer around to the left, don't we? If we're going to do that, we want to do it in the actual image so that we can put these correctly. Alright, so we've done a bunch of work that was kind of a waste, but that's okay. At least we figured it out early enough that perspective-wise, the adventure is going to run a lot easier if everything is as you wish to see. We can rotate it 90 degrees to the left. Okay. Once we've done that, we can grab that, rotate that, 90 degrees right. We'll just slap that right there. That's good. I'm going to grab this baby. 90 degree to the right, that one. I'm going to put it right above. I think we can make that a little smaller. And we'll put it right above ground floor. Because it's not actually that, right? What else we can now do is tighten that up a bit. You know, once you bring these in, all you're doing really by tightening these up is decreasing the number of pixels, thereby making it a somewhat smaller image, which has the advantage of loading faster as a page. So it behooves you to tighten these up to some degree. Alright, so we're saving that as is. We'll close that down. We'll go into the map layer. We don't need that now. We can then bring in the new one. Looks like it loads up pretty fast there, huh? We know we're going to want to keep it in the center. We'll do a little alt thing. That actually, and I'm just kind of looking up at here at this square. That looked pretty good. Pretty fast. Down at the bottom. I think that actually worked out pretty well, pretty fast. Keep the alt down. Oh, need to go up to down a little bit. Let's overdo it. Nope, that's too much. Back in a little more. So we're checking crosshairs there, 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 there. It's all fitting on with the screen. We will double check it. We are on the map layer. If we move off the map layer, it's cemented. This is good. Change the size. See where we've got it. Kind of in the upper right, huh? Yeah, we don't want that. We want to center it more. So we'll go back to the map layer. Kick that alt. more or less find the center. There we go. Get off the map layer. Alright, looking at it now. If we show players this, right? I don't know if it's worth having it this big. Now that I'm jumping back and forth, I'm thinking, I don't know if that's necessary. Alright, let's do this. Let's go to the map layer, click on that. We will make it this big. We go back here. Like this. Did we have the other one at 50-50 now? I don't think so. I think it's still at 25-25. And I think that's probably all we need. That way we don't have to change the resolution back and forth. Now that did not work out too well. Let's undo that. Here's the map. Okay, that's what we wanted. We just wanted to get a hold of that. We put that there. Good enough. It's a blank field anyway. We'll get off the map layer. We'll go back here. Go back to that. We're working at 70 so we can see player characters and such. Then we can pretty seamlessly move from this to that. Still kind of big. Let's make it smaller. I want it to be able to be seen without having to do that dance too much, right? So let's bring it up toward the top, more or less. Let's leave it there, go off the map, go back over to here. Back over to here. Good. It'll be nice and centered. Back over to here. Be nice and centered when we move back and forth between the screens. That'll speed up the game a little bit. Now, we're approaching an hour, so I'm just going to cover a couple more things here. Obviously, this is the same thing you want to do from level to level to level. We'll work on some of this next week, though, if I haven't done it in between. Maybe we'll be working on a whole new, fresh one. But you get the idea. We got 3 more levels. We'll do them the same way we do this. Some of the other things you're going to probably want to do, and maybe I'll just do the levels in between, and then we'll talk about this next week in more detail. But on that GM level, you can drop in your monsters, right? So, for instance, let's say we're going to have some kobolds on this first level. I can bring these babies in and drop them in various places where they're going to go. And they're back on the GM level. They can't currently be seen by the players. When I go to that GM level, let's say somebody enters this room, and I've got a couple of kobolds there, and let's throw this other one in there, and let's angle it around, right? So these things can't be seen on the map when players enter. And you know what? We're going to talk about Fog of War next time, because I got to get on that. This is now going to be necessary. But just to show you, we can capture all 3 of those, and we can move all 3 of them up to the token layer at the same time, and then that's when the players can actually see them. So we'll talk about that some more next time, and we'll talk about integrating Fog of War, because I've got to learn that pretty fast, probably by Tuesday. So It's something I'm going to have to mess around with. Okay, we're on object layer. Let's move those down to the GM layer for now, just so they're back there. And we'll get back to this next week. In the meantime, I want to thank everybody for watching the OK Grognard show, whether you're on YouTube or watching it live in Twitch, like Lost Nomad and Red Flag, and there's a few other here. Lurl, Strip Fang, Roll High or Die. I want to let you know that I'll be running some games at Con of Champions on May 23rd, 24th, 25th. This is my schedule. You can also find that in the OK Grognard Facebook group. If you're looking for it, I'll have it posted there. And of course, you can come back to a video and go to this section and see all of this. But you can also see it on the Con of Champions website on Tabletop Events webpage. Go check that out. This says Discord. I may drop Discord. I used Roll20 with the native voice chat and video chat. And you know what? It seems like they've gotten the bugs worked out on that. It was working just fine. And it's one less thing to have to integrate simultaneously with my players. If they can just come in, be up and ready to go with their settings, and then we get gaming right away, and that's the important part. Also, this is the last week, last set of dice. And this is why I'm asking those of you who are lurking here in chat to speak up, because these first 5 have been given away to people who have less lag on Roll20. Yes, it did seem as if there was less lag on Roll20 when using the voice chat on there. So these 5 sets are already gone. The 6th set, the charcoal one, is up for giveaway for somebody this week. This is Friday, from Monday through Saturday. We keep track of everybody who is a follower of the Twitch channel and also posts up in the chat during a live stream, like right now. And it's a giveaway. So the set is yours if we choose you at random from all the people who have followed those instructions there. If you're in the 48 contiguous United States, I'll just ship it to you. I'll get your address and I'll just send it to you. If you're outside of those 48, I'm going to probably ask you for some help with the shipping, because I can't go broke giving stuff away, right? Let me also mention that you get a set of 10 polyhedral dice. There's 3 extra D6s in there, as you can even see from that charcoal set, right? And an additional D20. All of these dice will be taken down to the Gygax Memorial Stone here in Lake Geneva by the Riviera Fountain. They'll be rolled upon the stone, and that is what we call blessing your dice. So these will come pre-blessed when they're shipped to you. And, as I say, it's the last one. After that, we'll be doing some other giveaways. I know our buddy Thaddeus Moore was kind enough to tell us that he'd volunteer a set of his patches, his old school Renaissance patches. There's that OSR light blue dungeon looking one, the sort of Conan style OSR patch, and the good old school black and white one. What else? I think I want to also show you. You know what? I've got a camera here. Let me do this before we go too far. I just want to flip on this camera. And show you what these patches look like, because I can. we go. Alright. It's a busy little space here in the OK Grognard Show studios, huh? These are two of them. There's a third one with the sword of Conan. I don't have that right here with me. But these are what the patches look like. They're pretty neat. Just simple little patches. You can have them sewn on a hat, sew them on a jacket, sew them on a backpack. Whatever you like using patches for, these are the patches for you. The set of 3 will be the next giveaway after this set of dice on week 6. So week 7 will be a set of patches. I've got some other things in the offing. Let's talk about the schedule. Coming up on the OK Grognard Show, don't forget, every Monday we do weekly news and a giveaway. That's when we do the announcement. So we'll collect names from Sunday through Saturday, and then I'll notify somebody usually on Sunday and make sure that they're interested. Sometimes people can turn stuff down. Certainly if you're outside the U.S. and it's cost prohibitive to ship it to you and you can't afford that, neither can I. I might have to do a second name. So we've got that. Then on Tuesday, cartography and world building. Wednesday, Grimball discussion. That's mainly campaign discussion. I'll talk about the game I'm running and other campaign issues. Thursday, crafting and painting. We just got set up. We got a new light set up over the table after testing some things out yesterday. I think we're all set. We've got a new camera rig over there and a second camera. Don't have to move stuff around and redo settings all the time. I'll be doing some streaming, some crafting, painting, whatever, and then I'll be taking the footage that I capture from that stream, winnowing it down, and that'll become the show that I do on Thursday. Essentially just the highlights. You won't have to sit there and watch me struggle to put paint on something. Can you imagine I'm doing some dungeon tiles like I'm planning on doing, and I've got 500 of them, and you're just watching me do one after another after another. And because I'm never been very good at this sort of thing, doing it poorly. On Friday, building virtual tabletop adventures. Got a little taste of that today. Again, not super proficient, but I'm learning all the time and showing you what I know and maybe learning some stuff in the process too. Saturday, tomorrow, we like to do a DM's perspective running review of a cartoon because it's Saturday morning. We've been going through the Dungeons and Dragons animated series. I think tomorrow we're doing number 7. There are 27 in that series, and there's 3 discs. We're going to finish this first disc. We got 7 tomorrow, then 8 and 9. Then we're going to move on and do something else before coming back to that at a later date. So what I have, I think, next in the mix is the first season of the Conan the Barbarian animated series. That'll fit right in. We'll find some other stuff to do down the line, but between the two of those, I think we got 2020 pretty well covered. On Sunday, we do a rules retrospective. I talked about initiative last week. There's more to talk about in regard to the origins of initiative, but I had some technical difficulties, and I was only really able to save about 12 minutes of the footage. I had some battery problems with the headset and microphone. In any event, there we are with the schedule. I want to thank everybody for coming. If you're here in the chat, as I said, always make sure you speak up. It'll get you in on the drawing. And it's just nice to know you're here. And it helps the channel because I appreciate you coming and watching, and that helps. But if you also, they have different milestones, and one of them is a certain number of people chatting at the same time or in the same stream, whatever it is. And it goes to feed... you get some benefits out of it as a Twitch channel operator. So I'd appreciate it if you're here lurking to just go ahead and just say hello. No big deal. So if you're watching here on Twitch, be sure to follow. Speak up in the chat. If you're checking this out later on YouTube, make sure to subscribe. Feel free to like or dislike if that's what you prefer. Either way, it actually helps the show. The algorithms don't care whether you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Either way, it counts the same, which is kind of weird. But I appreciate the thumbs up if you can give them to me. So, you have a good day. We're a little beyond our usual time. But thank you very much, and so long from beautiful Lake Geneva.